Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for a brand new skill damage formation to land in Rise of Kingdoms? Because if you're not, then you're probably not subscribed, because I've been telling you guys about this for months now, and we finally have more information about when it's coming and a new event tied to the release of the upcoming skill damage formation. So today we're going to dive into the face-to-face with the developers that just landed a couple of hours ago. But before we jump in, of course, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Now, as you guys know, I am a sponsored partnered creator with Rise of Kingdoms, so if you want more Rise of Kingdoms content, consider subscribing down below so you don't miss this breaking news. But guys, let's jump right in here. We have the hot face-to-face with the developers. This is, I don't know if this got truncated or cut off or whatever. What did it normally say? Or are they just being cheeky now? I don't know. Anyway, question one: currently KvK data only shows the kingdom as a whole and not a breakdown of domains. Is there any way to see more detailed data? I've also thought this for many years now. Very interesting. Thank you for your feedback, Governor. We plan to update the kingdom info tool as part of the notice boards toolkit feature in the near future. This update will add domain specific details, displaying data such as kingdom progression, power, casualties, technology, units killed and wounded, and activity for each domain. Very good stuff here. A lot of kingdoms rely on third-party tools, so this is really cool that we're going to be able to see this just straight up in the game and with official data from Rise of Kingdoms. So really like to see that. Next question: the map download tool is great. Could you add some battle planning features to it? It would make things much more convenient. Answer: that's a great suggestion. We plan to update the map download feature as part of the notice boards toolkit in the following ways. I like how they call it the notice boards toolkit, because people didn't know this existed for the longest time. They kept calling it the rock toolkit, the Rise of Kingdoms toolkit, and people didn't know what it was or where to find it. So now they just refer to it as the notice boards toolkit, because you can find it by going to the notice board in your city. You click on this and then you click on the little up arrow thing and it actually opens a new window in your web browser. Okay, so anyway, one, they're planning on improving it by building on existing features, provide live drawing tools for battle planning, including plotting, flag building routes, marking key locations, etc. And two, adjust the current map display format to allow more precise route planning when building flags. Very cool stuff. This should be good for alliance leaders. Nice to see that. But here's the big question: when will a new skill damage focused formation such as the wedge formation be introduced? We plan to introduce a new formation that provides a skill damage bonus around March 2026. Okay, so that is in, let's see, 1 2 3 4 days. Okay, we are 4 days away from March of 2026, so this new formation could land any time now. Typically when they reveal a new formation, it shows up in your events here and it will be like a sort of a countdown thing, kind of like how there's it shows you the mightiest governor upcoming like a week in advance, right? Or similar to how the daily special offer will show you upcoming commanders 7 days in advance. Okay, so we should know in theory 7 days before this new formation lands in the game, but this is coming much faster than you thought. Okay, by that time governors will be able to preview this new formation in game. So I'm assuming that means similar to like a new commander preview, right? Like you'll be able to test it out for a little bit. I'm not really sure. To ensure a smooth transition to the new formation, we will also launch a wish list progress swapping event for the wedge formation. During this event, you may choose whether to switch your existing wish list progress for the wedge formation with that of the new formation. Okay, so this is really good stuff here. What can we learn though? Okay, well, first of all, last year we learned that they planned on releasing 3 new formations, one for skill damage, smite damage, and combo damage. Okay, and they wanted to introduce them in the first half of 2026. All right, now if we're getting the first one in March, that means that across April, May, and June we should get another 2 formations. Now that was last year's plans and they could push this back a little bit, right? So like anything could happen, and I'm sure we'll get more information as we know it, but I'm mentioning it here to remind you that last year they said this was coming. Now it's coming. Okay, so this is not going to stop at skill damage. We are getting another smite damage formation soon. We are getting another combo damage formation soon. Okay, now we don't know if this will be open field focused or for rally garrison. All right, now what I will say is that when they say a new skill damage focused formation such as the wedge formation, the way that I read that is it will function in the same way as the wedge formation. formation, right? Like literally just giving skill damage. So to me, it sounds like this is going to be a universal skill damage formation, because if this was a skill damage focused formation that was for rally garrison, it would not be a skill damage focused formation such as wedge formation. Does that make sense? Like the fact that they call out wedge formation specifically is an indication that it will likely be just a broad skill damage based formation, right? Because if it were just a skill damage focused formation that wasn't for open field, they wouldn't even need to include this part of the sentence, right? They could literally just say, when will a new skill damage formation be introduced, and they completely ignore that, right? But they specify that it will be such as the wedge formation. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, okay, but not only is their wording indicating that it will probably be a universal skill damage focus formation, but they're also adding a preview and a wish list progress swapping event, which means they probably anticipate people potentially being upset with the fact that they're adding a new skill damage formation, and they want to sort of get ahead of that backlash, right? They want to say, hey, we know that you've been making progress on wish list, and we know that this is a new formation that is objectively better than the wedge formation, so here you go, here's a way to just continue on with your wish list progress. And I think that's fantastic. I mean, I think that's kind of the best of both worlds here, right? So my question for you is, are you prepared? Did you take my advice months ago, or did you shrug it off? Did you ignore it? You should have been saving your conversion stones and your transmutation stones and your transmutation crystals. Like, this was the time to hoard. Hopefully those of you that are subscribed and you've been paying attention, hopefully you have been hoarding. That was the correct thing to do, and hopefully you will now be rewarded for doing that correct thing. And if you didn't know that this new formation was right around the corner, then you should definitely subscribe to the channel with notifications on. We talk about all this stuff as the news comes out. You don't want to miss it, okay? Now, when it comes to predictions for me, what do I think about this? I think we're getting a universal skill damage formation. I simply think this will be a cut above wedge formation. Objectively, I think this will be a power creep formation. I think it will just be better, right? Now, whether that just means it goes from 5% skill damage to 10% skill damage, I have no idea. Whether that means maybe it's more specific, such that it says your field troops gain 10% more skill damage, right? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, but we won't have to wait very long because it is right around the corner. And I think honestly, them adding a wish list progress swapping event is fantastic for this, because a lot of people are going to want to do that, myself included, by the way. Now, I've been making progress here specifically so I can swap this over to my pincer formation, but at this point, I mean, maybe I'll just keep it depending on how good this new formation actually is, right? And the last thing I'll say about this is that I kind of wish that they added a wish list progress swap feature for the pincer and delta formations. I think that would have been really nice, because think about, you know, when they first added pincer formation, right? Everyone was making progress on wedge formation, and that was kind of it. Now, we had some people like myself, and you know, if you were infantry mains, maybe you were focused kind of on the arch formation, right? Because that was kind of the formation you would pick for smite damage when it first came out, right? But you know, at that time, all of us had a decent amount of progress on our wish list for wedge formation, at least, if not arch as well. And so it would have been really nice to kind of like give us a way to swap that progress to the pincer formation or to the delta formation. So I think that's a missed opportunity. However, I will say that if we are getting a wish list progress swapping feature now for this skill damage formation, then they really better do another one for the upcoming smite damage formation and the upcoming combo damage formation. Okay, so really hoping the devs continue to do this. This is very nice. I like to see this. Okay, moving on. The next question says, I wish we had a tallying feature for action point recovery items and gems in the inventory, similar to the existing feature that tracks resources and speed ups. This is true. I would like this a lot, but also this is not that, I mean, this isn't that big of a deal, right? I mean, it's like, just do the math. There's only a couple of different action point potions. Thank you for your valuable suggestion, Governor. A feature providing an overview of action points would indeed help streamline daily activities, and we will consider this idea for future updates regarding gems. Since the main interface already displays your gem balance in real time, we currently do not plan to add a separate, yeah, I mean, just open your gem packs. Like, there's literally no downside. They can't get stolen if you get zeroed. There's nothing that will happen if your gems are sitting up here in your inventory. Okay, just open your gem packs. I do it. There's no downside. Like, why would you not do that? It doesn't make any sense. Just open them. Next question, training massive amounts of troops repeatedly during the Zenith of Power event is exhausting. Will there be any optimization? Answer. Thank you for your feedback, Governor. We plan to address this issue starting with the first Zenith of Power event in 2026. A new instant training feature will be added then, significantly reducing the the tedious repetition that comes with manual selection of different speed up items while training. We talked about this in yesterday's video. This should be coming in the next update, so that's pretty good. Next question, what is the future optimization direction for the Supreme Strife event? Answer, following the conclusion of the Pioneer experience, we received a lot of valuable feedback and suggestions from participating governors. Based on this input, we have defined the primary optimization goals for Strife as follows. 1, refine the current team up rules to prevent overly imbalanced teams following the team up phase, ensuring that match outcomes remain competitive and less predictable. That's a good thing. 2, enhance the strategic depth and objectives during matches, making gameplay more engaging and the pacing of matches faster and more compact. Very cool. Detailed plans are currently under development. Once finalized, we will communicate them with the community through future face-to-face with the developers. Very nice stuff. Very good. Hopefully this event becomes very popular and very fun to play. Next question, when immigration becomes available after KvK season 2, there is still a significant gap between original players from the kingdom and immigrant players. Could some restrictions be applied? Answer, we plan to adjust cross-season immigration rules for seasons 2 and 3, as well as same season immigration rules for season 4, the first season upon entering Season of Conquest. For governors who use these immigration options, the time difference allowed between their character creation date and that of the target kingdom will be further reduced. Please stay tuned to in-game announcements for specific adjustment rules and implementation timelines. Okay, yeah, further protecting the early game is always a good thing. I've always said this, the early game is probably the most important aspect of the game to get right, because a bad early game means people stop playing sooner rather than later, and we do not want that for a game that we want to continue to be popular, and better yet, for a game that we want to continue growing, right? We want Rise of Kingdoms to get more players in the long run rather than lose players in the long run, and the more that they can kind of have a tight and strict grasp on the early game, the better it is, right? And I know that some of these restrictions make older players who create new accounts upset or frustrated, but at the end of the day, the point is to get new players into the game, right? Like that is much more important than your fun little side project by many orders of magnitude, right? Like when we're talking about the health of the game, that of course takes priority. With regarding this specific answer, I honestly don't really know what people were doing to abuse or what effects they were feeling from this. I trust that the developers are making the right call here with fine-tuning immigration for earlier or younger kingdoms. Next question, currently there aren't enough guides or tutorials for new players. That's because you didn't like and subscribe. You need to like and subscribe. If you guys want more guides for older commanders like KvK 1 and 2 commanders, let me know in the comment section below. I can update those for you. Anyway, the question says, currently there aren't enough guides or tutorials for new players, and the game's many complex mechanics can lead to frequent mistakes. Will the game provide more beginner tutorials? Thank you for your concern regarding the experience of new players, Governor. We plan to introduce additional beginner tutorials to help new governors. Guys, I got you covered. Just let me know what you need help with in the comments, and maybe I will update my guides for them. Okay, it's very simple. I've been playing the game since day one. I know all of these systems very, very well. I just want to know what you guys need help with, because to me everything seems very straightforward, but I know that it's a highly complex game with 5,000 different systems that have all been sort of stapled to the base game. Okay, so just let me know in the comments. Next question, I often see players sharing customized commander cosmetics on social media. Will the developers consider introducing special commander skins or more differentiated cosmetic content? I recommended this back in like 2021, maybe 2022, somewhere around there. This is a long time coming. We should have had this a long time ago. This is an easy way for them to make money, frankly, without introducing power creep. Okay, answer, we plan to introduce more cosmetic content in the upcoming versions to address the wide variety of requests from our governors. 1, commander skins. Governors can participate in events to unlock brand new commander skins and associated resources for their favorite commanders. Associated resources for the, does that mean, oh, it says marching effects, multi-battle broadcast, report sharing, etc. Okay, so if you have a report with Emperor Chin, for example, maybe there's a specific report skin that looks really cool for your Emperor Chin. Okay, that's nice. These can only be equipped after the commander skins have been unlocked. Okay, so you need the commander skin in order to get any of the other cosmetics for them. The first run of this event will feature Joan of Prime and CPO Africanus. Okay, we've got a big problem. We've got a big problem, Rise of Kingdoms. They're not in the meta anymore. So this is one of the problems that we are going to face if we are going to see this type of cosmetic thing. It has to be for commanders that are relevant, and one of the problems with that is that commanders become irrelevant within usually a year. If we're lucky, they stay relevant for 2 years, 2.5 years, right? And so if you're going to have events to unlock cosmetics, I presume that it's going to cost some number of gems or some amount of special currency for that event. Okay, so if players are going to be investing time and possibly money into getting these cosmetics, they need to be on commanders that are going to have longevity, right? And so with Joan of Arc Prime and CPO Prime, you know, unless this first event is going to be completely free just to, like, you know, know, introduce the concept. I think this is kind of a missed opportunity. There's really no point in getting skins for commanders that people aren't really using that much anymore. I know people still use Joan of Arc Prime and CPO Prime. I get that, right? I used CPO Prime in my last KvK, but like that was probably my last KvK using either of these commanders, right? And so, you know, this is kind of the problem with this, where it almost is like you need to introduce the cosmetics as you're adding the commander, right? That way players who spend the money and time to get the cosmetics have the maximum amount of time that they will get out of that. On the flip side of that, we need to see better museum relics. I've been saying this for years now, years. I've been saying this. The museum system is antiquated, it is outdated, and it is not achieving the goal that originally the developers said it would, which would be to bridge the gap between the old commanders and the new commanders, right? Maybe back when the system first came out, giving a ton of stats to Minamoto, giving a ton of stats to YSG, maybe that did bridge the gap. It does not bridge the gap anymore for any commander except YSG, right? Like that's kind of the only relic that is even relevant to this day. I know some people still run like Attila and stuff, but like really that relic is the only thing that quite frankly moves the needle even a little bit. And so, you know, if you are going to add cosmetics for older commanders, you also need to support those commanders with relevant museum relics or some equivalent feature system or whatever that brings those commanders up to the meta or meta adjacent, right? Because nothing's going to feel worse than spending a few $100s to get a Joan of Arc Prime skin and never using it because it's not good, because the commander sucks, right? So he's just going to sit in your inventory, and maybe she'll look cool, right? Maybe she'll be wearing a diamond encrusted armor or something like that, right? Like it'll look like diamond camo from Call of Duty, which I think would be awesome, right? But if you're never going to use her again, you're never going to see that, then it's like, well, what's the point in spending the money, right? So I think this is a really good idea. This is a fantastic idea. I love this idea, but it has to also come with either it has to launch alongside the commander, right? So whatever the next upcoming archers are, they need to launch with a secondary cosmetic, right? Just as an example, right? Maybe this is being pioneer tested. It won't be ready by April. Okay, fair enough. Push it back to whatever the leadership in ranged march is, or whatever the case might be. Okay, or start with the next generation. But my point is, if you want this to work, then we need to see it launch when the commanders come out, and or make it so that way the commanders that you do put it for in the game are now relevant in some way, right? And before you guys comment, like I don't want them to actually add stats to these skins, right? Because that would be, you know, that would be almost like a Zenith of Power but for commanders, which is just horrible. Like that's horrible game design. We definitely don't want to see that. We don't want to see the Joan of Arc Prime skin give you 30% cav health, right? Like that would be stupid. That would not be good, because now you're just locking meta behind really high costing events, and that's just not good for the health of the game, obviously, right? So I don't want to see that. I want these to be cosmetic. I want these to be bragging rights. I want these to look really cool, right? I want your reports to look cool. I want like everything about this to be awesome, but on top of that, we need some stats to support that. Okay, also my last thing that I'll say here is we need Artemisia Prime to have a skin that looks like Freya from Call of Dragons. Okay, just something, just get, you know, hey, I mean, come on, like if we're gonna do skins, like let's see it. All right, anyway, we're also gonna see alliance building cosmetics, which I think is really cool. Alliance members can donate clam keys to level up a designated alliance building cosmetic set. Alliances may unlock access to 4 types of cosmetics within the set: Alliance Fortress Effects, Flag Cosmetics, and Alliance Territory Border Cosmetics. Okay, pretty cool. Territory borders is going to be nice. Imagine like a flaming border, right? A flaming border for your territory, so as you're progressing through the battlefield, you're like burning through the land. That would be sick. Okay, to ensure that the combat experience remains unaffected and balanced, neither commander skins, including their associated cosmetic resources, nor alliance building cosmetics will provide any additional attribute bonuses. Okay, so that is good. This is fantastic. This is what I wanted to hear. I'm glad that they're just addressing this up front. Okay, so you're not going to get 5% march speed from a new commander skin, but that does not ignore the fact that if you want the skins to be relevant, then we definitely need to see some sort of support for these older commanders, because as it stands, like even somebody like myself, CPO at one time was my favorite commander in Rise of Kingdoms, and I feel no desire to get a skin for him because I just know I'm not going to use it, right? Like why spend time and money to get it if I literally will never see it, right? I will literally never get any benefit, even an imperceivable one, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I love the idea, but there's just one little missing component that makes this relevant, and without that component, I feel like this entire system will kind of flop, right? right? Like only some giga whales will participate here, which maybe that's who they're targeting, but like they could easily make a lot more money if this was, I mean, frankly, like they could even just do like if they're not going to support these commanders with stats moving forward, like through through revamping the museum system, then they should just do like a $5 bundle, really, like, because then it's like, okay, it's $5, like my Joan of Arc will look cool when she's doing barbarians or something, like then maybe a lot of players would buy it just because it looks cool, right? I mean, why not? You know, I would consider buying it just for that, right? But the way that this works, like the way that they are currently doing cosmetics with clam keys and everything, it is very expensive to do that. I don't participate in those because there's not enough value there for me. I get that it's for the whales, but you know, again, at least when it comes to like, you know, profile skins and banners and everything, like at least you see it, right? You will literally never see this if the commanders are not relevant or meta adjacent. Okay, so that's kind of my 2 cents there. That's it for the face-to-face with the developers. You can give them your feedback right here. Just be very constructive with your criticism, otherwise they're not going to even read it, right? Like if you're not being helpful with the survey, then don't even fill it out. But I do highly recommend that you fill this out. I always recommend that you fill this out, so click that green link in game for you and tell them what you think about this entire face-to-face with the developers. And you know, there was no button for the update. They didn't ask you for feedback on the update notes, so maybe use this as an opportunity to give them feedback for the update notes that they revealed yesterday. And with that being said, guys, if you made it to the end of the video, consider dropping a thumbs up on it. It really does help out the channel a ton. And you might think you're subscribed because you've seen a ton of my content, but you're actually not. Double check down below, that way you don't miss breaking news like this, especially if you didn't even know we were getting a new formation. You definitely should subscribe and click that bell, and let me know in the comment section below what you think about the face-to-face with the developers. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.